Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield here in Las Vegas at the home of AGT Live with the winner this year, Paul Zerdin. How are you?
I am very well, thanks, Alex. How are you? Nice to see you in America.
Yeah, it is nice to be here. And who knew that there we were 18 months ago in Mansfield, and now we're in Vegas, and you're the winner of AGT, and you're $1 million better off. Can I borrow a few quid?
Well, the puppets are looking after it at the moment because they're spending it on. I said that they could take, some of the money and go and buy themselves some new luggage, because frankly, it's about time. They've been in the same case for quite some years. So no, you can't have any money.
Oh, that's a shame. Do you know what it is about this business? You've got an opportunity given to you, but you've got to be prepared for it. And you've really spent your life building up to this, the biggest stage on earth, AGT, with those judges in front of you, and you just knocked it dead every single night. Congratulations on that, because it could phase someone who's not used to standing on that huge stage.
First of all, thank you. Yes, it could. Yeah, I mean, it was a gamble, to be honest, because I've been doing this for a long time, as you know, and to kind of put yourself in that position where you're sort of on the line, where it could go either way. I was quietly confident, but there are no guarantees with this, and I just thought it might be worth having a go, across the pond and in America, and just seeing what happened. And if it hadn't have worked, my plan was to just sort of sneak back, and everyone or nobody would be any the wiser. Of course, I forgot about social media and that side of things, and so nothing escapes anybody now, which is good and bad. But luckily it worked out. My first audition went really well. I got a standing ovation from the judges and from the audience, and I thought actually this might go okay. I never expected to win it, but I was in a sort of a good position because I would say I'm relatively experienced. I've worked in a lot of venues all around the world, big theatres, doing things like from the Raw Variety Show to entertaining thousands of troops in the desert in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I'm used to a big crowd, and I think if somebody who was maybe slightly less experienced, it could be quite a daunting thing. And I'm not being cocky or arrogant in any way. It's still a big deal when you're standing, particularly the live shows, in the wings of Radio City Music Hall, waiting to walk on stage, entertain 6,000 people in the theatre and millions of people at home on NBC. So, it's still a big deal. It's not like, oh yes, darling, it's a piece of pea. Anyone can do this. I felt like I was prepared, and I felt bring it on. However, there was still I had that buzz in me, and thinking, it could all go wrong. I could balls it all up, but luckily I didn't.
There is an irony that you started your career on a talent show, and then you've been a pro in England for all these years, and you have been selling out theatres and doing professional pantomime, and you're one of those acts, I said to you last time, that is a guaranteed hit. I mean, your stuff is crafted. It's not risky in a sense that it might flop. I mean, you've got a really strong act because you've been doing it so long. There is a difference, isn't there, between BGT and AGT? The scale is different.
Well, I think for a start, to audition on Britain's Got Talent would have been a big mistake, because the prize, or part of the prize, is to appear on the Raw Variety. And of course, I've done the Raw Variety show 3 times, and so that would have looked like I was cheating. And then I'm supposed to have done well since the Raw Variety show, and so then appearing on a talent show kind of looks a bit desperate. So those were my reasons for not appearing on Britain's Got Talent or going for the competition. The American thing, like you say, is a much bigger market, and a different audience completely. And I thought that was definitely worth a try. And there's been some criticism with me winning the show. So I've noticed on social media people saying, "Oh, it's not fair. A professional act won a show." Well, the competition is open to anyone, amateurs, professionals, and people all over the world. There was some criticism saying, "Well, it should have been an American that won it. It was a Brit that won it." But Britain's Got Talent has had foreign winners. They've been fantastic. They've won the show. There was a Canadian magician called Darcy Oak who did fantastically well on Britain's Got Talent. 3 of the 4 judges on America's Got Talent aren't American, and the competition is open to anybody, and it's worldwide, and you can be professional, semi-professional, amateur, whatever. So I don't think that really matters. It's can you do the job and entertain at the end of the day.
I was keeping my eye on Twitter too. I wonder why you won it. Was it the English charm? Was it the look of your act? The fact that you have these guns and things that the women clearly seem to like. It is a package. I mean, deeply unattractive men like myself would struggle on AGT, wouldn't we?
I think you're gorgeous. But I think, to be honest, it's got to be entertaining. You want to try and, I try and look as presentable as I can. I like working out, and I want to be at my healthiest and my fittest, if possible, especially if I'm going to be on TV in front of millions of people. But at the end of the day, it's got to be entertaining. I try and be technically the best ventriloquist I can be. I learned from a fantastic ventriloquist, Ray Allen, who's no longer with us, but he wrote the best book in my view on how to be a ventriloquist. So I want to be technically the best I can be, but the most important thing is to be entertaining and for it to be funny, and hopefully, and thankfully I was entertaining, so it seems, because they voted me the winner, and I'm very flattered and unbelievably grateful. But yeah, you got to just get out there and make them laugh, and that's all that matters. It doesn't really matter how you look, as long as you're funny. You could be, technically the greatest ventriloquist in the world, not moving your lips, but if the act's not funny, then you're just a man on stage talking to yourself and looking a bit weird. So it's about entertaining.
How nervous were you that moment before the announcement who won the show? How did you deal with that moment?
There were a couple of moments that I had. First of all, the beginning of the live shows, the quarterfinal, when I was in the wings at Radio City, I kind of pinched myself because I was thinking, wow, I'm at Radio City Music Hall about to do live television. And I gave myself a bit of a pep talk and just said, right, come on, don't balls this up. This is a massive opportunity. This could go really well. So I kind of said to myself, right, this is a massive, massive deal. Don't screw it up. And then when I got to the finals, I was thinking, well, I've got to the finals, so I was happy with that. And to win it, obviously, it was the sort of icing on the cake, or the cherry on the icing on the cake. I never know that expression. Anyway, I was standing there, and as it kind of got whittled down to the two of us, myself and Drew Lynch, I thought, well, he's going to win. He's a really charming, very personable, really funny guy. I thought that they would go for one of their own, and it was nerve-wracking, sort of beyond belief. And after a while, because you're standing on stage for so long, and then they suddenly go to a commercial break and they really draw it out. You kind of become a bit sort of numb to it, really. And every ad break, I was sort of saying, me and Drew were making jokes, just trying to keep ourselves, sane and getting through it. I mean, it was quite nerve-wracking. And my reaction when I won was absolutely genuine. I was gobsmacked, and suddenly in my head I had a whole list of people I wanted to thank, and then they ran out of time, so I didn't get to thank anybody. But I did in some of the PR and press afterwards. But yeah, it's a very daunting thing, even though I've been doing it for a lot of years. I've never quite been in that situation before. It's sort of out of your hands, really, and yet you still have to be on stage waiting to find out these results. So yes, it's torturous.
And I love your act for many reasons. One, it's very charming and it's warm. You're not trying to be political or anything like that. You're just trying to be funny. But you add in this technical level, especially, I think it was the semi-finals, where you have the robotics of the stuff. And that must be even more terrifying, because there's a point you can't control that. You've got to hope the batteries are working, the guy's pressing the right button, you're doing your right thing. There's a lot to go wrong. That's an added pressure. Was there a debate whether actually it was too risky? Because if it had failed, you'd have fallen on your ass. As it turns out, it was utterly joyous.
Well, to be honest, when you do this show, as I found out along the way, you have to kind of pace yourself, and each spot you do for each heat has to kind of you have to up the ante, and it's got to better the spot that you've done before, but you still got to hold something back so that you can, if you were lucky enough to get into the finals, you had a spot that would be strong enough to top everything else you've done. So I thought doing the radio control stuff, which has become quite a big part of my show over the years, that was an important thing to show off, and also just a bit different. Most people are used to seeing a ventriloquist with a puppet doing whatever. I thought, right, what can I do next? Well, I'll do that routine, but I'm still saving some stuff back for the final. So yes, it was a risk, because in rehearsal I switched it off in the dress rehearsal as I left him on stage. The costume, I had a different costume on the puppet, and it was too tight, and as I switched it on, I put the puppet on the table, and then it switched itself off as I walked off. So when I went to pick up the control in the wings, nothing happened, and I came back on stage laughing and flicked it back on and then ran off. And it's happened in live shows before, so you kind of laugh your way through it. That's what happens. If it had happened on the night, then it would have happened on the night and I'd have made a joke of it. But I could see the producers looking like they were having a panic attack, thinking, oh my god, what if this happens on the night? And luckily it didn't happen, and it all worked. But yes, when you're using electronics, and I do a whole routine with a human ventriloquist dummy, which I've sort of upped the ante for that, really, where I have a man and woman, and they're radio controlled, and I leave them on their own. Sometimes that's gone wrong before. The battery suddenly drained itself. It's been left on. Yes, there is a risk when you've got electronics, but I think that's the way things are going, and we have this amazing technology at our fingertips. So I'm like, yeah, we must use this, and I'm not saying become dependent on it. However, it can really sort of enhance your performance.
It certainly does. When you do that thing, when you're talking to him, talking to him, talking to you, talking to him, talking to them, talking to you, and it's within split second, what's going on in your head? Could you start a conference?
I am my own conference call. I don't really know. That was a piece that I wrote with my friend at home on Skype, and I knew I wanted to do some sort of quickfire routine where the old man was on the scooter on his own, Sam was next to me, the baby was in his car seat, and I wanted to show that this sort of kind of one-man Muppety sort of sitcom idea, I wanted to sort of plant the seed basically for the producers, saying, look, there's more to me than just a stand-up show. I want to do a sitcom, I want to do all these things. So in a way I was quite calculating, because I wanted to show that I had this kind of live one-man sitcom thing going on. It was quite complicated though, and I do remember thinking, I'm going out doing a brand new bit. I've never done it before. Most comedians would go out and try a new bit in a comedy club or wherever and work on the material, and I just wrote this routine with my friend at home on Skype while I was in New York, before the finals, literally a couple of days before, and I just thought, well, this might work. And I look back, and I was talking to a comedian friend of mine, Adam Bloom, the other night at the Comedy Store, and he said, oh, that was, really enjoyed that bit. He said that was really good. I said, I'd never tried it out. I said, I just did it like on live television and just hoped for the best. I practiced it a lot, and my friend Lee, who was doing my radio control, he was controlling Albert. I was doing the voice of Albert, obviously, because it was all ventriloquism, but someone else was controlling Albert's mouth and lip syncing to my ventriloquism. He was panicking as well, because it was full on. But we rehearsed and that's the thing with that, you just got to keep rehearsing. But yes, there was a slight element of, I think if you watch it back, I haven't watched it back yet, but I'm sure if you were to watch it back, you probably see a look of kind of fear, panic, everything all in my eyes. But it seemed to work, and I think that's you've got to try and take risks and do different stuff, really. So it was worth doing.
But maybe not in front of 22 million people.
Is that how many it was?
It's something like that.
Blimey. Okay. Yeah, but you know what? It's funny because you're in a theatre, and it's there were just under 6,000 people in the theatre, and you're on television, but you're on TV, and I think I was always taught that when I was doing TV, you should. Like a radio presenter, you look or you're talking to one person, and so I kind of have the same mentality in my head that I'm performing to one person, apart from the theatre audience, and I know there's a whole audience at home, but for some reason I just thought, well, don't let it get to you. I just think the bigger the better, really. Bring it on.
So let's talk about you. We're here today with Paul Zerdin. As I say, we're here at the Planet Hollywood, which is home to the AGT Live, which is going to be taking place for the next 3 nights. I wonder how this has changed your life. We know you've got these 3 gigs. This gives you a platform of choices. You could come here and live here and have a show in Vegas, I'm sure, because this is the home of ventriloquists who still earn big money. You've got Panto in England coming up, so you've got to go back for that. How has this changed your life, and what decisions have you made so far?
I love saying this because it makes me laugh. It's like over the next these few months, it's been Radio City Music Hall, Planet Hollywood Vegas, Theatre Royal Plymouth, and it just makes me laugh. It's such a contrast, and I love all of it. It's so different. It's changed my life quite dramatically, because suddenly it kind of puts you on the map a bit, and you get a lot of attention, which is fantastic when you've been working a long time to try and kind of make your name. It's weird that it's happened in a different country, but it seems to be filtering back home. And I'm talking to TV people again that I was talking to a few years ago who kind of lost interest for whatever reason. When things went off the boil, suddenly they're interested again now, and I find that quite interesting. But that's show business. If you're suddenly when you're hot, you suddenly get some attention. I'll see how the shows go in Vegas. Obviously I want to do my best ever work. It's a massive platform, and I know lots of people are coming, and I want to just do the best show I can. And to maybe work here again would be an amazing thing to do. Terry Fator's become a friend of mine, and I've seen his show a number of times, and it's terrific. And he's absolutely flying the flag for headlining ventriloquist acts, and he's a brilliant performer. It's a brilliant show, and he's kind of living the dream, really. I've also liked the fact that I've enjoyed all the television that I've done, and I've always enjoyed performing television because you can do different things with it rather than just in a live performance. So I'm keen to explore live telly projects and things, which I've got lots of ideas, which I've been working on over the years. So I've got a book full of ideas, and hopefully some of them may come to fruition. And now that I've got this exposure, so I'm talking to NBC about doing some more TV stuff, and I like the fact that I can come home and do some more TV at home, because I'm not someone that wants to just sort of up sticks and leave. I've worked 25 years in the UK to sort of make a name for myself, so I'm not just gonna sod off to the States. I'd like to be able to have the best of both worlds, really, and do both. Maybe that's greedy, I don't know, but I'm going to try my darndest.
And again, people might forget, but you are a big personality comedian in your own right. I know you have it vicariously through the puppets, but you could lose them. Is that a possibility that we could just see Paul Zerdin, the entertainer, opposed to the ventriloquist? You're funny yourself.
You're funny. It's not something I never wanted to be a comedian as such. I was always, I was just obsessed with the Muppets, which I've said in interviews with you before. The Muppets and Sesame Street and the Muppet Show, all those characters. I always just wanted to do something with those puppets, and comedy. I loved comedy and I loved magic. I never wanted to be a straightforward stand-up comedian. I like the fact that within my show I can do. There's all sorts of elements to it. So there are puppets in the show, in stand-up performances, but there's also there's moments within the show I get to talk about being a ventriloquist, and I get to do my own stand-up comedy, and I enjoy that as well. It also gives my arm a rest, because having it shoved up the arse of a puppet for an hour and a half every night, it gives you an achy arm, to be honest. So that's also it's a moment just for me to have a breather. But I don't know. I never really thought. I mean, I like to do. I used to be a kids presenter a long time ago, and I enjoyed presenting. And maybe I could do some more presenting. I like doing the stuff with the puppets because it's, they're such silly characters and over the top kind of caricatures, like the old man and the baby. That you can be funnier, I think, than if it was just me as a human. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Really, I'm sort of I'm up for anything.
It's interesting. I said to you last time that you are the least creepiest ventriloquist I think I've ever seen, probably other than Terry Fator, actually, and Met. You don't take them back to the dressing room and scream at them if the audience don't laugh. I've heard stories of that. I mean, some of these puppets become the ventriloquist's best friend. That's certainly not the case with you. It is a job, and they go back in the case at the end of the night.
They certainly do. I don't talk to them when I come off stage. There was that story of I think it was at the Palladium, and it was an American ventriloquist, I believe, and he absolutely died on his arse. And apparently he was overheard in the dressing room shouting at the puppet saying, "You weren't funny tonight, you really let me down." And I just think, God, if I ever got to that position, then Jesus Christ, the men in white coats would have to take me away. But the way that the ventriloquists have been sort of depicted in movies and TV dramas and things over the years, it's no wonder that people think we're mad. They are, to me, they are just props. I pretend that they're obviously real for the show, because obviously I want you to believe that they are real. But I don't go off the stage and go, "Well, what do you think, Sam? Oh, that was terrible. Well, you delivered that joke, differently tonight." "No, it didn't. Piss off, Zerdin." There's none of that. I mean, that's part of my sitcom idea with the behind the scenes, the world of Paul Zerdin at home. Because I think that's what people almost want it. They want to believe that that's what it's like. So I like that idea of kind of just sending that whole side of things up, but it's not serious, definitely. But I went to a ventriloquist convention, which is a fantastic convention every year in Kentucky, And I went years ago, and I saw loads of ventriloquists, and most of the ventriloquists that go are amateur ventriloquists, but some of them are professionals, and they're giving lectures on, you know, comedy writing and vent techniques and script writing and all this kind of stuff. But there are a lot of the guys were walking around all day long with the puppets on their arms, and you could tell the amateurs from the professionals, because the professionals, you know, they have the prop in the bag, in the luggage, and they take it out when they're doing their spot. They don't like check in. They don't check into the hotel with the puppets saying, "Hi, can we have a room for two?" So you know, that's when I realised I was actually quite sane compared to a lot of these guys. But you know, it's their hobby, and they love it. So you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like magicians, really. If you go to a magic convention, because I started as a magician, you know, if you go to any of the hotels around the Blackpool Magic Convention, every hotel, B&B, is full of magicians doing close-up coin tricks, card tricks at the breakfast table, you know, and that's their hobby or whatever. So, but yes, I'm relatively sane, I think.
So let's talk about you and your life, because it is extraordinary. Firstly, what position does this leave you in then, financially and career-wise, after winning AGT? Because it moves the goalpost. You go from becoming one of the biggest stars in England to becoming one of the biggest stars in the world.
Well, it's certainly opened some doors. I mean, you know, financially this year, it's been quite a hard year. I'm not one of these you know, performers that wants to sort of dwell on this. Paul started with a successful career, and then he entered America's Got Talent. But I had to make myself available once I started doing well for the show, and that meant turning down a lot of work at home, which was quite a tricky situation, because you know, I've got a mortgage, but I had to make myself available, and particularly for the live shows in August. It's the first time I'd ever not had any work in the diary for a certain amount of time, you know, quite a few weeks, and I need to have money coming in from gigs, and I've always gigged, whether it be comedy clubs, corporates, theatre tours, cruise ships, everything. So I have to keep working, and I need to earn a certain amount of money. And so I made myself available for the show, because I started to do quite well in the competition, and that was quite daunting, and I had to borrow quite a lot of money, and I've accumulated quite a lot of credit card bills, but I think the long term and the exposure this show's given me is amazing, and I'm hoping to earn some money soon.
Well, because the point is, you don't get paid for the auditions until you either win or don't win. There's nothing. So, I mean, you could have technically got to the end of this and gone home with a flight, and that's it, and then carry on. So how bad was it at its worst? Was there a point when you considered pulling out?
Well, it was. I had thought about it, because I was really strapped for cash over the summer, and I did think about not coming back after I got the golden buzzer. But after I got the golden buzzer, I sort of, as far as the show went, I kind of had to go back, because I had to go through to the live shows. But it did, you know, it's you know, it's up to you to get yourself there and back, and you know, you get some expenses and things, but you know, you don't get any money unless you win it. Luckily, I won it, and I'm going to get me money through soon, apparently.
Good.
I never expected to win it, as I said before, but I just thought, look, I've got this far, I might as well. It would be silly to sort of pull out now. I've got to go all the way, really, and you know, luckily I did.
And what about the family? Was there ever a point where the girlfriend said, "I'd actually like a new Gucci bag," instead of you trotting off to New York to try and be a star?
Well, it's been really difficult, actually, because Robin's in a show in the West End, and so she was not able to come to any of the live shows, which was very frustrating. So, and also because of the time difference, you know, she didn't know I'd won it until the middle of the night, of course, and so I'm trying to talk to her, and then NBC grab you by the arm and then literally just push you around, and you're doing all this press stuff, so it's full on for the next few days, literally back-to-back interviews where you no time for sleep or anything. And I had some friends that, you know, came out, which is brilliant to see them, but I just didn't have enough time to have a drink with them and celebrate it, and my girlfriend has you know, has found that very difficult, because she's in a show in the West End and she wanted to be with me in New York, and you know, sharing in all the celebrations. But we'll make up for it at the end of the year.
Everybody seems to think you're a nice guy. You have respect for people, even watching you work today. You're old school, aren't you? You believe in treating people with respect. Do you ever lose it? Is there ever a moment where you'll kick off?
I like to think I'm quite easy to work with, personally and professionally. I think, you should treat everybody the same, really, and you want to work when you're working, and the thing is, when you're lucky enough, like myself, to do a job, and the same goes for you, you love what you do, and you've carved out a career, and you're lucky enough to do what you want to do, and it's sort of, so this becomes your hobby as your job. And it also, the thing is, with that, it overlaps into your personal life, because you're always thinking of new ideas, and you're thinking of ways you can do things, new routines, jokes, whatever it be. So that can be a bit of a pressure for my girlfriend. I think she can get a bit kind of hacked off with me constantly thinking of new things or trying out jokes and things on her, and doing silly voices, but she understands that that's part of the job, and sometimes you think of ideas and things in the most inopportune moments. I won't delve into that, but...
Well, what are we talking about? Don't draw a diagram. Come on, this is meant to be a really family orientated interview.
Well, I'm just saying, they don't call me Clever Dick for nothing.
And what about turning this girlfriend into a fiancée or a wife? Is this on the cards or possible?
I have no response to that.
You plead the fifth?
I don't know. I don't know. I've been so caught up in the whole of the America's Got Talent stuff at the moment that I haven't really had a chance to think about anything else.
I guess this is the first time that you've had the Daily Mail photographing you through airports and putting it online and all that stuff. Is that thrilling, or is that an invasion of your privacy?
Well, I must say it's a bit weird, really, but it's quite funny. When I left New York to come home, before these shows in Vegas, I was in the duty-free sort of perfume bit, and I was spraying myself with a bit of Tom Ford before I got on my flight home. And there's a guy walked past, and I did a double take, and went, "Oh my God, it's the puppet guy!" And I started getting recognised quite a bit, from the quarterfinals onwards. And this guy started freaking out in the middle of the duty free at JFK, and then started to attract a load of other people, and it attracted a bit of attention. People started standing there going, "Oh my God, there's that bloke." There either there's that guy, or who the hell is this bloke that everyone's looking at? And it kind of not freaked me out, but it was just a bit weird, considering I was in a different country. So I was really pleased to get on the plane and just come home to a bit of normality. But then there's then there's the press waiting at Heathrow. So I mean, it's a weird thing. I suppose I was almost in a vacuum doing the shows in New York, because I'd been there for 3 weeks, and you kind of forget about the impact it has around the country and at home in the UK. So I kind of got a bit of that when I got home, and felt and realised that it was a bigger deal, because I thought, well, it's an American show, they don't care about it at home, but like I said, it has kind of filtered back there, and it's opened some doors, and suddenly I sort of have to be careful where I pick my nose,
And then of course we talk about you being a sex symbol. I mean, it must be hard being no, stop laughing. It must be hard being you, because the ladies do find you a nice bit of trouser, and some of the fellas as well.
I don't know what to say. I do what I do, and I hope people like it. I don't really have...
How many hours do you spend in the gym staring at yourself with dumbbells in your hand?
I've been doing a lot of Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and I was talking to a friend of mine that does social media, and they were saying I need to do more Instagram photos. And to be honest, on Twitter and things, I never have anything that I think is particularly funny to say, so I think photographs are they're a good thing to do, and it gives me an opportunity to do little sketches and things with the puppets and kind of arse around. But I was in the gym the other day, a few weeks ago, and I was on the bench press, and I thought I'll take a picture, and I sort of set the camera up and did a picture of me in the mirror, and it kind of made me laugh, and I put some silly comment on it, and then afterwards I thought about it and just thought, oh God, that's so wanky, that's just not me. I like working out, I like being fit, I like going running, but I'm not I don't, the whole sort of social media thing is a strange thing. You sort of have to do a certain amount of it now, because that's what everything is, but I like to keep fit, but I don't I just want to try and look, I want to just try and look as sharp as I can, really.
How old are you now?
I'm 56.
You've got to be careful with that, haven't you? Because there is a point where it becomes sort of from fit, sort of I'm gonna nice bit of trouser, to creepy old man. You got to be careful.
Well, I've already got a creepy old man called Albert, and so I can at the moment I can be the creepy old man, but I can still be myself. And I'm let's just say I'm very, very, very late 30s.
Paul Zerdin, it's really nice seeing you. I'm so proud of you and pleased for you. You deserve this more than anyone. You've toured for years and you've worked hard at your act, and you deserve this prize. You're a showbiz star for a reason that you've got a good act, and I know you'll have an amazing career. Paul, great to talk to you.
Likewise, Alex. It's lovely to see you, and it's really nice to do it, across the other side of the pond.
Yeah, let's do it again. You can pay next time. Once you've paid off those credit cards.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Alex.